Woo! Good afternoon, everybody. Our Asian persuasion fellow is at work today, and
typical.
If you guys want to make sure that every one of us is on the platform every time, share our videos, get our subscribership over on Rumble up to somewhere in the region of 10 to 20K. Once you see that, we can start paying each other, and we'll never have to go to work again, and we'll be here. Heck, we could be here every day making videos for you. So that's your way of helping. Just make sure you share and get people to subscribe. Okay. Outside of that, we're gonna be hit and miss like we are now. Just you know.
and like we always say, Marlon, it's not that hard. You know, there's a little share, and then you share, copy link, or you can share it to any other platform you want. It's just a quick share. Maybe somebody might get curious and click the link. You know.
Yeah, never know.
You never know. Come on.
We are going to begin, though, however, today with a little satire and poke fun at the people who are saying he's now a Russian spy again. They has to upgrade it somehow. They can't just say colluded. Now they have to go all the way in and said he's been working for him for a while. And since that's the case, I think they were working on their next mixtape. So let's listen to what him and Putin came up with.
I can't get no sleep.
Oh man,
I would go to that show.
I like it. It reminded me of Germany.
I would go to that show.
You know, it reminded me of my Europe days and the underground days. I mean,
you know what? I can actually name a better duo than Trump and Putin.
Oh.
Dan Bongino and Cash Patel, FBI.
Say what again? I imagine him stepping up, remember Cash stepping up in front of people. What? Say what again? Does Donald Trump look like a to you?
What? What?
It's been nothing but winning lately for Trump and his team, right? Just lots of wins. It's only been a month.
But you know, and they're going to keep trying. They're going to keep trying to stop him, to slow him down, but nothing's going to work. You know, they can do whatever they want. At this point, it doesn't matter. He's going to do what he has to do.
So let's talk about what's been going on, what they've been saying. So the key here is this. I don't want that. I want you to go back to where I was, please. Thank you very much. I press X and you take me to a whole different page. Good try, Yahoo. Donald Trump, here it is. Donald Trump was recruited by the KGB with codename Krasnov. This is an ex-Soviet spy saying this. He was recruited by the KGB in 1987 and given the codename Krasnov. The bombshell allegation. Listen carefully to this, everyone. They actually took time to write this. They wrote this, not me. The bombshell allegation was made by Alnur Musayev? Yes, Musayev. A former Kazakh intelligence chief, Kazakh intelligence chief, in a Facebook post. Now, okay, listen, people. He put this on a Facebook post, and this has become news. The 71-year-old who previously headed Kazakhstan's National Security Committee said he had served in the 6th Directorate of the KGB in Moscow, which was responsible for counterintelligence support within economy. One of the directorate's primary objectives, he claimed, was recruiting businessmen from capitalist countries. I'm sure that's how they put it.
Yeah,
I'm so sure that's how they would term things. And then 40-year-old Trump was a New York State real estate developer. Was one of those recruits. In 1987, our directorate recruited Donald Trump under the pseudonym Krasnov, he wrote.
Yep. There's also this bit of paperwork floating around on the Twitter X.
We'll get to it in a second. Now, I want people to just think We're a crowd here. We logic, right? We do logic. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Can I find out from the audience where this information was when they did the Russia thing? Because remember, this is since '87, and two, where it was in the last go round of the last 4 years during the Biden administration that they couldn't find any real tangible information on Mr. Trump.
Yep.
Anybody know?
That's why I was laughing, Marlon, because I was thinking that same exact thing. I'm like, if
I have your answer.
If he was a Russian spy, wouldn't you have thought that all this Russia collusion, that would have been the nail in the coffin right there.
Mm-hmm.
It never happened.
Well, this is why, right here. Listen to this.
Okay.
Today, the personal file of resident Krasnov has been removed from the FSB. You ever realize they make a claim and they say it's true, and then all of a sudden, when you go to try and fact check it, well, you won't find it.
Trust me, bro.
It's been removed. So trust me on that one. It is being privately managed by one of Putin's close associates.
Yeah.
His allegations come amid years of speculation over Trump's ties to Russia, dating back to his first visit to Moscow in 1987. No one, absolutely no one, has ever heard of him going to Russia in 1987 and associated it with him being recruited. Nobody until 2015.
Yep.
Oh, God.
I tell you.
Oh, so
they came with paperwork now already?
This was a Facebook post that some dude wrote claiming Trump was part of the KGB. But who else was part of the KGB? Wasn't Putin part of the KGB also?
Yes.
Yeah, he was.
Has Putin even confirmed or denied or anything?
He won't, because
why would he if he's an asset?
Oh, because they're spies.
Yeah, they're spies.
Oh,
can I ask a question about this photo, please?
Go ahead.
I mean, I'm not no, this one I'm not going to say I'm not. I'm not the smartest guy, but I did get my degree in art, and part of that art degree is Photoshop. Okay, just hear me out.
Yeah.
And so when you stamp something, the photo itself would not get the stamp. Just so y'all are aware. And secondarily, it wouldn't be as clean as they're proclaiming it is right here.
Yeah.
For 1987. I'm not quite sure how they managed this, but
I honestly think it's one of those ones that are like, oh, see, this is it, but it's propaganda stuff.
But that's not even Trump, though.
No, that's what I was going to say.
It's not even Trump.
Looks
the only thing that is actually Trump is this from a newspaper article showing him in Russia. Whenever they're claiming he went there, that's what it is. He went to Russia.
He told us he was trying to build buildings over there.
Yeah, he was trying to. He couldn't, and then he didn't do anything.
I'm utterly confused with these people. But then again, should I be? No. So let's take a look into the man making the allegations, shall we? This is him. This is Alner. Does he look Asian to you? Looks like if Jay Lee defected.
Chinese. No, he's Russian.
Well, I mean, considering where he's from, that makes sense that he would be of the Asian persuasion.
He says he was born in 1954. He was head of Kazakhstan's National Security Committee under the 10-year president. What's that? Who is that? Who's this guy? Anybody remember what he's famous for? Anyone?
No. I do not.
No one remember him. You know why you don't remember him? Because he was not of very much importance. That's what I was trying to lead to. He served in May 1997 to September 98. Now watch me carefully. He served from May 97 to September 1998. Then returned for a second term in 99 to 2001. After his predecessor was sacked in a scandal over the sale of an old MiG fighter planes to North Korea. Now, hear me out. When was Trump recruited, he said?
In the 87.
87?
Yeah, 87.
So this is when he was working for the national. So how did he recruit Trump?
Mm.
Where was he working at that time?
He said
Again?
he was the part of the National Security Committee,
Yeah.
right?
In 1991, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he
Or
says
19
in his
97,
post he says
1997.
in 1987 I worked in the 6th department of the KGB in the of the USSR in Moscow.
Right.
He said that in 87. So what does his thing say?
None of this
Here.
says he was there even in 87. Look,
It says
right? So he was
1997.
part of the party until 91, but he was actually only involved in the offices until at 97 to 2001.
He's chairman of the National Security Committee.
So I'm trying to figure out when he had time to recruit Trump.
Mm.
So let's read. In 2025, he claimed that Donald Trump was recruited by the KGB when he visited Moscow in 97. He was given the code name. Did not specify that Trump actively or knowingly participated in any espionage activities or provide examples, because he knows if he does that and Putin hears wind of that, he's dead. Now hear me out. If you leave and defected, and then you go to try and spread information about certain activities by the Russian government, what do you think is going to happen to you? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to remind people of who Putin is. Okay, he's not above wiping you off the face of this earth. I just want you to be aware. So that's why he's not going to name it. One, he'd be lying, and that's why he hasn't said whether or not Trump did anything. You're making the allegation, but you can't prove that he did anything.
But yeah, this is the thing. I mean, this is something they've been doing since 2016, since he was going to get elected. They've been trying to tie him to Russia this entire time.
Mm-hmm. Now they're saying 1977 even.
As far back as
that.
97.
Yeah, 1977. Viewing Trump as an exploitable target, Trump was not viewed as an actual agent, but as an asset. We're talking about Trump being a self-interested businessman who's happy to do a favor if it works to his best interest. No duh. If I'm going over to Moscow to build a building, of course I'm going to work within the confines that helps me make money, you dummy.
Yep.
What, you think I'm just going to go there to make Russia money and not me? No, pay me.
So I want to bring up an interesting question and point. They're making such a big deal out of him being a supposed Russian asset to a organization that no longer exists, right?
Mhm.
The USSR is gone.
Mhm.
When we have actual examples of the Democratic Party being infiltrated by Chinese spies and having sex with them in California, or at least running parts of
that's
their
different.
offices, or stealing intellectual property
That's
from
different.
universities and so on and so forth, of people we've
different.
actually caught involved in these things.
But it's different, Coy.
Yeah,
not
we're
Russia.
talking about
Totally
Russia.
different.
That's
We're
not Russia.
You know, it's
not-
not.
if it's
Yeah,
not
they're
Russia,
not Russian.
If it ain't Russia, then they don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Or the fact that the former president of the United States and his son flew to China on Air Force Two for money deals.
So this is what Musayev said too. Although the credibility of the Steele dossier has been heavily contested by Trump supporters, it's not been contested by Trump supporters. It's been debunked by everybody.
Everybody knows it's fake.
Especially for its use of anonymous sources, kind of like this guy.
Yeah,
Musayev confirms the existence of the comprocrat on Trump. So he confirms it, just like Steele did, but he won't tell you what he did, if he did, when he did, how he did, just that he did.
Yeah.
And, oh, okay. I have no doubt. Hear me out. This is what he says. I have no doubt that Russia has compromised on the U.S. president. That over the course of many years, the Kremlin has been promoting Trump to the post of president of the main world power. When did ever Russia do that?
Yeah.
When?
No.
Oh my God.
Putin's even gone out on a limb to say that it would be beneficial for him if Biden actually won.
These people.
Okay,
man.
whose rulership did he invade Ukraine?
It was on Obama.
And who was he under the second time he did it?
Biden.
Yeah.
You would think, hey, okay, I'm going to put a scenario to people because I'm going to pretend that the lefties have a brain. I'm going to pretend. I know it's going to be difficult, but I was an actor once. Okay, so if I am a bad guy and I have a confidential source, and this confidential source is working at a bank. Now, he just got the job. and he's my informant, my guy, wouldn't you think it'd be easier for me to steal money from the bank while he was in there versus the other times when somebody who was not on my side, should I rob the bank then or when I have my friend in there?
Yeah. Rob the bank with the guy on your side while he's in office. I mean, if Trump was a Russian asset, you know how easy it would have been for Russia to just wipe Ukraine off the face of the earth without any American influence, without any American backing, nothing. He could have just been like, hey, Trump, buddy, hey, homie, I'm going in. He's like, do your thing, Vlad, do your thing, but he didn't. But under the other two buffoons, he did.
Speaking of the other two buffoons, would this be considered collusion? Just a question. Again, we're just asking the intelligent left. Would this be considered collusion just on its surface? Okay, let's act like you and pretend we have no concern about what the history of anything is. Just listen and you tell me what this is.
My last election for you. Yeah. And after my election, I have more flexibility. Yeah. And I transmit this information to Vladimir and let them with me.
So he's sitting there with a Russian saying, when I'm this is my life, I can't run for president again. And when I get in, I'll have more flexibility. Sounds a whole lot like Joe when he said something about Ukraine money, but kind of weird. So what exactly? Of course, he didn't mean anything by it. He just meant he'd be stretching more, right? That's what he meant.
Yeah, you have to put this in context for people to understand. That was pre-2012, right? So this is coming up in his last election, 2012. What happens 2 years later after he gets elected is they annex Crimea.
Yeah, that's different though.
And then also stage a coup, but we're not going to get into that part.
So my question, when he said he was going to be flexible, does that mean he's be doing more jungle gym stuff with his monkey Michelle? That's what he meant?
That's racist.
I'm just wondering if that's what he was saying about. That's what he meant by flexible. I'm just asking.
Be a little more flexible.
I'm laughing because I visualize a lot. The minute you said
that, imagine them swinging from the chandelier.
I just saw it. I actually saw it.
The other question here is like from the previous guy is like all of this information and it's always trust me, bro. Right? Like has any actual journalist seen any information, legitimate evidence of what this guy is claiming? Because generally when you publish something, you have to have some sort of indication that you are talking to the person you're talking about, right? That is in fact the person you're talking to. They also have credible evidence. Even if you never post any of that or even print any of that, you need to know that you're not talking out of your ass on that one, right?
Well, you probably gotta know. But Obama uses his mouth. Obama speaks out of his mouth, and that's where his ass comes from. So we all know that. That's natural. The problem
we know everything when it comes to Trump is all trust me, bro. They really have nothing credible. It's just, hey, does this talk bad about Trump? Does this make Trump look bad? Let's run with it. It's all in sensationalism. Go with it. And we always said this about when it comes with the left wing media, and when it comes to Donald Trump, it's about that initial hit. They can get the information out there, whether it's right or wrong. They hit, and then you're going to hear all the left-wing monkeys that are on Twitter or X, TikTok, and every other social media platform regurgitating the same thing. Even if it comes out and says it was made up and not true, they'll just run with it for the next millennial.
Anybody remember what happened before the war kicked off during the Biden administration? What was that big thing that
which time?
What was that one thing that happened over there that kind of jump-started everything?
Oh, it was the NATO membership they were wanting to include.
Yeah, but there was something Ukraine a little bit more pipe-ish. What was that pipe thing that happened?
Oh, the pipeline that was exploded.
Yeah, Nord Stream 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I'm just putting some things together for y'all to understand, okay? Now, the other guy that the reason we're showing Obama, please, people, stay focused. The reason we're showing Obama is to show you who says more and had more happen while they were president to prove that maybe the one that's actually the asset to Russia is not Trump. Perhaps the Russian asset were the Democrat Party. Hear me out. At least, no, better hear him out or her. I'm not sure what that face looks like. Does it look like it's a mask? That looks weird.
Tired. Yeah. That's what it looks like.
He looks
Tired
like he,
boss.
looks like he had a good time last night with some baby oil.
So obviously, hindsight is a great thing. 2020
Oh, really? Hindsight is a great thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
vision is a great thing, but you experienced while you were in office Putin's first invasion, the annexation of Crimea, and
Oh, he did. Okay, good. We've
Yeah.
established
This
that
is-
groundwork, right?
This interview is slightly after the invasion started, just for context.
Isn't that weird? Anyway, continue, Obama.
many
Tell us.
people said neither you nor the Western allies stood up and put enough red lines around him around that.
Yeah.
So what's your reaction to that? And I want to just add also your good friend and colleague, Angela Merkel, is under very serious criticism right now. I know you've just met with her recently. Should she have leveraged, Germany's
Wait for it.
economy, its energy on the addiction to cheap energy in Russia? Was that a mistake?
Well, I think
Mm-hmm.
the Ukraine of that time is not the Ukraine that we're talking about today. There's
The Ukraine at that time is not the one today. Yeah, because you got rid of the guy that was there at the time.
Wow.
And you guys are running money laundering schemes through your vice president in Ukraine. Hence why all those pardons go back to 2014.
The statement alone should give people pause. He said, well, that Ukraine today is not the one it used to be. So let me get this right, Obama. The way it used to be, it was okay to allow Russia to annex Crimea, right? That's your point. Is that it's a different world altogether. We could allow that back then because it was a different Ukraine. It was corrupt. Ironically, the reason they were thinking it was corrupt was because a certain individual that you had as VP was doing a lot of business there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Huh.
Because we were
Wow.
making money.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a different
Okay.
Ukraine because we were all making money and now we're not.
So here's my theory. I'll bring him down for a second. I'll have him continue. Here's my theory about the annexation of Crimea. What better way to leverage the country that I'm trying to extort than by allowing and doing nothing when a foreign adversary tries to do something to their territory? Now, remember, we supposedly had a lot of treaties with Ukraine, right? Going way back.
Yeah.
Part of it was protections. Am I wrong? I'm not mistaken about
Yes.
that, right? Okay.
Mhm.
So you're telling me in order to get the investigations removed, get the people that were looking into Joe Biden, you had to allow a certain bit of, how's that protection money that the mafia used to do? They come in, rough up your store, and then they tell you better
protection.
pay the protection funds or else. That's what happened in Ukraine. That's
Yep.
why it's a different Ukraine, because now you have somebody in there that will willingly take money instead of having to, exploit the country. The problem is that you had to make sure you made that point, and you have to create the need for the money. How do you do that? The same way we do it everywhere in the US. Start a war.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So they've done exactly that. Why do you think it was so much peace in Ukraine versus Russia when Trump was in there? He didn't have a deal to broker with any of them.
That's right.
He wasn't making money in Ukraine, and he already made his money in Russia long before he ran for president. There was nothing for him to leverage there, which is why they had to start the whole Russian narrative, because they had to take eyes off of who? Ukraine.
Yep.
Yep.
Ukraine had to be painted as the good guy. And once you paint Ukraine as the good guy, when for years it was the most corrupt nation on the planet Earth. You remember them saying that?
Yep.
Okay. Just want you all to remember history and don't let them revise it for you. Anyway, continue there, Fama.
a reason why there was not an armed invasion of Crimea, because Crimea was full of a lot of Russian speakers, and there was some sympathy to the view that Russia was representing its interests.
Well, none of that made sense, bro.
It does, if you think about it in the larger context of why they said it was okay for Crimea to be taken, is because they were largely Russian speakers. They voted to go to Russia, and so therefore it went to Russia because it was the will of the people. But that's different than how the Russian speakers in the Donbass and all the other regions are able to not go to Russia when they wanted to go to Russia and they were being bombed, and we wanted to expand NATO into Ukraine and all that.
The reason I say it makes no
It's
sense
different.
is because that wasn't even the question.
Yep.
Like, I don't think he heard the question, like, at all. But this is usually what they do. They go to the furthest end of, had nothing to do with the question, and try and tie a bunch of stuff. By the time they get to what you think is the answer, you forgot what your question was.
Yep.
So let's see if he gets to the answer here.
Rada at the time, the Ukrainian parliament itself, still had a number of Russian sympathizers, and the politics inside Ukraine were more complicated. And part of what happened was
Christiane Amonpour does not understand what he's saying either. She's just doing the the BBC face.
As both myself, but also Merkel, who I give enormous credit for, had to pull in a lot of other Europeans kicking and screaming to impose the sanctions that we did and to prevent Putin from continuing through the Donbass into the rest of Ukraine. So
really,
I actually think that given both where Ukraine was at the time and where the European mindset was at the time, we held the line.
Oh, you held the line.
Right. Held the line.
Okay.
Who's we?
I'm assuming he means America, but let's look and see what it was. Merkel and Merkel. Sure. Okay. I want you to hear for yourself. Okay, this is Obama announces sanctions to punish Russia for Crimea invasion. Now hold on. What did he just say it was? Did he say it was an invasion?
He didn't say it was.
No. Did he say there was a whole lot of Russians there, so they just kind of assimilated it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that completely different invasion? From
what he said? Yeah.
Is that an invasion? That doesn't sound like an invasion, does it?
No.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah, okay. You know, that's
what the man said.
I mean, that's what he did say.
This is an ABC News special report. Crisis in Ukraine.
Oh my God.
Crisis.
And good morning. For those of you just joining us, I'm Josh Elliott. President Obama is about to make a statement from the White House briefing room regarding the crisis in Ukraine. The administration has announced it has frozen the U.S. assets of 7 top Russian officials, including senior advisors to President Vladimir Putin. Let's go right now to ABC's Jonathan Karl in the White House briefing room while we wait for the president. John, we're seeing what's being called the most comprehensive sanctions placed on Russia since the Cold War. What do we expect the president then to tell us about them today?
Yes, please.
Well, in fact, Josh, these are the first sanctions placed on individuals in the Russian government since the Cold War. We're going to hear from the president, a real line in the sand saying that Russia cannot go further and recognize this vote that took place in Crimea over the weekend, saying that they would annex to Russia. That is an unacceptable move. The president will also make it clear that the United States does not recognize this referendum, basically taking a piece of Ukraine away and declaring it part of Russia.
But hold on.
All right.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's one of those things. It's like, I am so glad the internet exists so we can call these people on their BS. You know, because like you just heard him say that it was a different thing. It was a different thing. But then in the news report from the time, he was saying it was unacceptable and it was an invasion and that it wasn't right.
Wait. Okay, when they said sanctions, who were the sanctions for?
Oligarchs.
They were for individuals.
But before that, didn't the guy say sanctions on Russia itself, like the country itself?
Well, that's how they say it, so that then they go back and define it, and you know it's not against Russia.
Yeah, no, it was key figures in the Russian government.
What key figures? Like one guy that sits in an office named Ted?
They said 7 of them. They'll never tell you what 7. Maybe they might. Maybe he'll tell us right now what we're all wondering. Let's see.
Okay. This is unacceptable to the United States. They're calling it illegal. Also important, the United
how is it illegal? Especially considering what Obama said today in terms of today's time. He said that at the time it was a different environment and there were tons of Russian sympathizers in that location. And it only seemed like a much easier thing for them to just do this. But now you're saying that you had all this stuff that you did and you tried to make it so that no one could go any further with it. So which one was it? Was it natural to happen and that you couldn't stop it? Or was it that your sanctions aided the stop to it? But if that's the case, then what happened to the sanctions? Did Trump lift the sanctions? No, never did. So and then when Biden came in, the sanctions weren't lifted either. But what provided him the access to go and now go into to Ukraine even further. What
Yeah.
what was stopping him from getting into Donbass to begin with? You tell me.
There wasn't. I mean,
Oh.
he could have pushed if he wanted to.
But he did wait until the wet potato was in.
Yeah, he did wait. But it's also the other thing is that he did. The only reason that the Crimea was annexed in the first place was because of their military base that was already there, right? That they paid for, that already existed. It was their asset to begin with, and they didn't want to lose it, especially when the U.S. was putting into a operation through USAID, a coup to throw out the guy that was pro-Russian in favor of a guy who was pro-Western. So, and then on top of that, say, hey, we're going to include Ukraine in NATO, which is on their border, which we would never accept a alliance with our adversary China in Mexico on our border in the same regard, or even in Canada for that matter. Either one of them, pick either one. If they started teaming up with with China to put a NATO like alliance against us, we would not accept that either.
That's true.
The fact of the matter remains that folks are forgetting too that the investigation into Biden was already in full swing.
Mm-hmm.
By the time this happened, there had already been, mind you, this is going on in 17. No, when was this?
It was in March of 2014.
2014. Okay, so this is 14. This is a year before Trump decided to run. This is about the time that Biden had just finished off his statement about the $1 billion loan guarantees.
Yep.
Just remember,
it's also the same time that Hunter got on the board of Burisma,
and it's the same time frame that he forgave all of the what you call it, the pardons
for all the people involved. Yeah.
So remember, a lot of this ties into a very specific time frame. All right. Listen,
The States is working in conjunction with European allies, also imposing their own sanctions. And here's the president.
Good morning, everybody. In recent months, as the citizens of Ukraine have made their voices heard, we have been guided by a fundamental principle.
What's that?
The future of Ukraine must be decided by the people of Ukraine.
So you
and
decided
USAID.
that? You decided that.
Okay.
So is it for us to decide that, or for Ukraine to decide that?
Yeah, and on that point, if it's for Ukraine to decide, why is the president sitting up there talking about it? He shouldn't even be talking about it. We shouldn't even care. I mean, it's up to the people of Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
The funniest thing about this is the fact that USAID at this time was funding groups in Ukraine to start the Maidan revolution. At the same exact time, he's saying that the Ukrainians should decide their future. He's stoking tensions in Ukraine to throw out the guy to decide the future the way they want.
So that's not really letting Ukraine decide, is it?
No, it's a false choice.
Anyway, continue, Mr. Kenya.
That means Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity must be respected, and international law must be upheld.
If their sovereignty is supposed to be respected, then you should probably step your black behind away.
Yes.
Now, hear me out. If you are trying to then say, okay, there's a problem going on with Ukraine and Russia, and we find that it's adversarial, why don't you let the UN take care of it? Why are we?
Yeah.
Because we are the UN.
I'm just saying. Okay.
This goes back to the original video that we watched of him saying he'll be more flexible after the election. What was that actually entailing? Did he backstab Putin? Or did you say you get to have Crimea, but something happened and they changed their minds between 2012 and 2014 to where he was more adversarial towards Putin? That's what I want to know. I want to know what changed between those 2 years.
I haven't. I was just about to say.
Money.
Okay. Yeah. Now you can't. I don't think he was necessarily trying to be the ally to Russia, as much as he's trying to play both sides against the middle to keep Biden's deals moving. So he uses Russia as a leverage against Ukraine for them to do something about the investigation. So when you do that, now you've allowed Russia to do something in a location that you say the UN had already said not to do. So long before this annexation happened, you had the authority by the UN, at your own admission, to stop things. You didn't. Why? Because around the time that things were about to kick off with Ukraine, started to investigate the one thing you wanted most than anything else, which was more money from the oligarchs. To keep them in line, what do? Allow a bigger adversary. You can't dirty the U.S. hands with it. You can't.
Yeah.
So what do? You allow the adversary to come in, do what they want to do, and then come back and say, see, now we're sanctioning these people, and this is the best way to get this corruption out, by stopping the investigation on this. So it's a twofold. He's playing both sides against the middle. And who's the one to benefit the most? Him and Joe Biden.
Yeah.
What happened to Ukraine in the time frame from 14 to now? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think you're right. There's one thing that brings up the question is that if he was playing both sides, then did he just backstab Putin? And Putin was trying to be a good neighbor at one point until they just started pushing some nonsense on his border.
No,
like that could have been it.
I think what Russia was just an opportunist at that time, and they take what they can get. If America ain't gonna stop me, I'm gonna do it.
Yep.
Why do you think it didn't happen under Trump? Because America wasn't gonna let him do it. Would you mess with somebody who already said he gonna nuke a whole region if you act up? I wouldn't mess with that.
That's
dude.
true. I mean, look how the Europeans are already acting towards Trump when he said that they view him as being too friendly to Putin now. Right? They're viewing him as an adversary, and the United States as an adversary and not a partner. They're already trying to move away from that. Like, okay, he's too unreliable as an ally, which these people should have been doing that in the first place. If Russia was such a major threat to you, why have you done nothing in 80 years?
Thank you. And I think we forget that Russia was the one that was on our side, not Germany.
Very
in case
true.
y'all forgot that. Who actually were the Nazis? I think y'all forget. And who actually worked with, the Germans? There's a country.
I mean, if we're being honest about history, who was the one that actually stopped Hitler? It was the U.S. and Russia,
technically it was the French. Okay.
Yeah.
Technically.
I'm just saying. I mean, if you're going to view Russia as adversarial, they're the ones that stopped the Nazis in the first place. So.
Well, they didn't really stop them. They just sent them to Ukraine.
That's true. And then we have all the Democrats applauding them in Canada. They're applauding them.
We displaced them.
Yeah.
And so Russia's decision to send troops into Crimea has rightly drawn global condemnation. From the start, the United States has mobilized the international community in support of Ukraine to isolate Russia for its actions and to reassure our allies and partners. We saw this international unity again over the weekend when Russia stood alone in the UN Security Council defending its actions in Crimea.
Right.
And as I told President Putin yesterday, the referendum in Crimea was a clear violation of Ukrainian constitutions and international law, and it will not be recognized by the international community.
Except that it was, and it still is.
Yeah.
And then for the next 10 years, Europe would get more and more natural gas from Russia as a response to that. So it's funny to me that the Europeans up until a certain point saw Russia as a threat, but then started getting all of their resources from Russia.
There's something a lot deeper than what Ukraine that they're not telling us about, man, because there's no way, a majority of Americans didn't even know where Ukraine was on a map until the last, 10 years.
Yeah.
And some of them still don't know, but they're out there protesting about a place they have no idea where it is on a map. But there's something else going on. And I think a lot of this is going to tie back to Biden and his family and the corruption and the money laundering and all that other stuff. So, this Ukraine, this is a front for something else. They can care less about Ukraine and their sovereignty. They can care less about the people there. There's something else going on there that they're trying to hide.
Right.
Today, I'm announcing a series of measures that will continue to increase the costs on Russia and on those responsible for what is happening in Ukraine. First, as authorized by the executive order I signed 2 weeks ago, we are imposing sanctions on specific individuals responsible for undermining the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and government of Ukraine. We're making it clear that there are consequences for their actions. Second, I have signed a new executive order that expands the scope of our sanctions. As an initial step, I'm authorizing sanctions on Russian officials, entities operating in the arms sector in Russia, and individuals who provide material support to senior officials of the Russian government. And if Russia continues to interfere in Ukraine, we stand ready to impose further sanctions.
So let me get this right. I want to make sure I understand this 100%.
Sanctions.
The sanctions that you're going to put has to do with their bank freezings on people who have done the gun running. Okay, in essence, okay. And if they still continue, you're going to sanction them some more, even though your first sanctions may not have worked, which it didn't, by the way. My question is, why only certain officials and not the head guy?
Yep.
You know, Putin's the top dog, right? It's not like he has to, his council can override him. That's not how it works in Russia. It's him and him alone. So why not just sanction the big dog? Is my question. You know why? Because you know full well that this is not something that's actually going to help, but you're making Ukraine believe that it will. And that's how you get them on your side. How else do you enter into the kind of criminal empire that Ukraine is, other than having them see, I'm keeping your enemies at bay. Now you're going to work with us? Yeah, I'll work with you. You're going to make sure you fire this person? I'll make sure I fire that person. In fact, we'll give you $1 billion if you do it.
Yep.
As I said, leveraging both sides to get what you want out of it.
Third, we're continuing our close consultations with our European partners, who today in Brussels moved ahead with their own sanctions against Russia. Tonight, Vice President Biden departs for Europe, where he will meet with the leaders of our NATO allies, Poland, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. And I'll be traveling to Europe next week. Our message will be clear. As NATO allies, we have a solemn commitment to our collective defense, and we will uphold this commitment. Fourth, we'll continue to make clear to Russia that further provocations will achieve nothing except to further isolate Russia and diminish its place in the world. The international community will continue to stand together to oppose any violations of Ukrainian sovereignty and territorial integrity. And continued Russian military intervention in Ukraine will only deepen Russia's diplomatic isolation,
which didn't work at all and never was supposed to.
And then in a few short months after him announcing this, they started a coup. But here's another wonderful clip of him saying that he had everything under control.
We are shaking off that complacency. I will say that as somebody who grappled with the incursion into Crimea and the eastern portions of Ukraine, I have been encouraged by the European reaction, because in 2014, I often had to drag them kicking and screaming to respond in ways that we would have wanted to see from those of us who describe ourselves as Western democracies. We are shaking off.
You hear that key words is that we had to drag them kicking, screaming to what we wanted. We, a royal we.
So hold on, is Ukraine sovereign or not?
I guess we own them.
Yeah,
I guess so. I mean, I guess they're not that sovereign. Big Daddy told them what to do, and Big Daddy's pulling the strings.
But Trump's the
Big Daddy's paying them. That's why.
But Trump is the Russian asset, right?
Yeah, he's the asset.
Trump is the Russian asset. Now, I want any lefty at all listening to answer me the question this man poses.
Yesterday, what's your takeaway from that?
So what struck me, Charlie, is that the U.S. government was concerned enough last summer about Russian interference in the election that they had the CIA director make contact with his Russian counterpart and tell them to stop.
Okay, remember that. Keep that in mind.
And the Russians clearly didn't. So my question is, what did the Obama administration do after that, after they learned that the warning had fallen on deaf ears?
It appears they did nothing.
It appears they did nothing.
Mind you, this is not Fox.
Yeah,
this is CBS. Okay, so it's not biased. The reason that clip is important is for this reason. All that bluster and blowhard nonsense and bloviating that Obama did in that podium at the time in 2014, he knew full well that Russia was not even caring about what sanctions they put on. And even Putin came forward around that time and told them in no uncertain terms that those sanctions don't mean anything. Even the second time around, he was like, I don't know what you're putting sanctions on me for. We're not using your stuff anyway, so how's that affecting me? We've wanted separation from you for forever. You just saying that you can't do business here and you can't do, okay, we're not going to do business there.
Yeah.
That's not stopping the war. It's not going to stop us from advancing. It's not stopping diddly squat. So what exactly was the purpose of the sanctions? It was to be a person that says, look, Ukraine, we're doing this. Now fire that guy. We're on your side. See, we're on your side. Only to leave them in the exact same position and bring somebody else in, just like they always wanted to, that knew how to funnel the money back to America, which is why now they're getting two instead of two of almost $300 billion. What's be this?
This is something I want people to have the understanding. So we just watched all of the things that Obama said about 2014, and people tend to forget what happened in 2014 when the actual coup happened. This is something we paid for, by the way, that we found out for sure from Doge that USAID had been paying all these types of organizations in Ukraine to stoke tensions and to create the coup. Right. So we know that this is what our money was used for, and this is what happened. And then they always come out with this thing of it was unprovoked, things that we did to Russia to get them to attack Ukraine. Everything that we did was unprovoked. Right.
Always.
How did this suddenly morph from a protest into a revolution, as the protesters are calling, looking to topple?
You ever realize who they always get to cover this? You notice it's always one face, especially when it's BBC. I think we may have to look into Miss Amonpour.
Yeah.
I think
she's a Russian asset.
I'm going to have to look into her financials.
She's a Russian asset.
No, like for real. I really think she might be one of those people that's towing a certain line. I'm going to have to check that out. Go ahead.
An elected government.
It's not an easy job to topple the government, to change the president, to sign an association agreement, but this is our agenda.
We are waiting that President Yanukovych return back to Brussels and sign that agreement.
See you. We're here from America. Would you like some bread? Signing the association agreement with the EU would also put Ukraine on a path to strengthening the sort of stable and predictable business environment that investors require.
And that's what we paid for, was that. USAID and the NGOs that were on the ground, we paid for that, right? And then you heard Obama himself say that we had to drag the Europeans kicking and screaming to what we wanted. That is what they wanted, was that right there. So everything we saw up to that point was for his own benefit, for everything that he wanted. Whether it worked out for Putin or not, it didn't matter. They did what they wanted to do. And so when they keep saying that Trump's an asset and stuff like that, it's all deflection to deflect away from the things that they did in 2014 that has led up to this position in the first place.
You know, and I think the whole idea behind a lot of this is this. You see a lot more of the rhetoric being bumped up. The reason I think they went back after the Russia thing and this person comes forward talking about he's a spy and he was the KGB since 87 is because he's about to touch on something that is about to cripple the entire political landscape of the United States.
Yep.
What Trump is about to do in the next few days is go into the two main areas that the United States government has been siphoning money off to create international wars, to put their hands in international affairs, to put their pulse on things overseas in order to bring more wealth to the people in government, not to the American people, to the people in government. He's going into the Treasury and he's going into the military. The two places where he actually has jurisdiction by the Constitution, they're now saying it's not constitutional for the executive branch to deal with executive branch things. There is even someone trying to bring a lawsuit against them saying that he has no right, none at all, to enter into the Treasury. The president, the executive branch head, doesn't have the authority to go into the executive branch.
Yeah. And you know, there's that old saying, if they had nothing to hide, why are they even worried about it? Yep. You know, they have nothing to hide. If they're good, their hands are clean. Why are they so terrified that Trump is going to do this? Because they have a lot to hide. They have a lot to hide. And when all that money, and I've said it before on past episodes, is once they start figuring out where that money's going to and whose hands has that money touched after it did it circled back, there's a lot of people that are going down for that, and they're terrified.
There was two things that the United States did for the last 60 some odd years since JFK was shot. Is they lost control over the government, and they figured out how they can continue wars to line their own pockets. And that's exactly what they've done until now, is they've done everything in their power to stoke tensions throughout the entire world because there was nobody left to stop them. Up until the point that we had the USSR was the only thing that was keeping the United States and the people that had taken over in check, right? And then it fell, and they were the only ones left. We were the sole superpower. So we just did what we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And so all those people got rich and pocketed all the money and stoked tensions to keep pocketing money and laundering it over and over and over again. And that's all they've done since then. And you see it. If you look at the pattern, that's all they've done for the last 30 years is cause wars, pay for more, have something happen, an emergency happens like Haiti, we send them money, but none of that money actually goes to them. It goes to these NGOs who then get wandered back into other organizations who get the money that ends up tied to somebody else or somebody's family member or whatever it is. And that's how the money keeps going and going and going. So all the money that we owe is people have already stolen all of that money that we're in power. All of it's been stolen.
Can I ask a question? What has Russia gained from their plant in Trump? Since he's a plant since '87. Name me one benefit that Trump has brought to Russia at all. And I mean in fruition. I want to see tangible something that he's accomplished for Russia since being a spy since '87. It's a long time to be working for a country, right? Very long time. Mm-hmm. And to say that he was the most malleable, okay, that's what they said. If that be the case, what fruit have they gotten from his tree?
I'm trying to think, maybe less sanctions or like closer ties is the only thing he's.
I'm glad you said that. I am glad you said that. Now, did Trump ever sanction Russia?
Yes. So
obviously they didn't, right? So what sanctions did he put on Russia? Anybody know?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I had to look it up.
All right, let's take a look here.
Did it have something to do with the natural resources?
Well,
most of them had to. But then again, it goes back to the thing. If Russia was such a big threat to Europe, why were they sucking on their gas?
Right. Trump imposes major sanction on Russian oligarchs, officials, and companies. So if he's doing something to benefit Russia, he's doing it very poorly, kind of like how he's a very poor racist. The Trump administration took one of its most aggressive actions against Russia on Friday. This is in 2018, okay? Announcing sweeping sanctions against the members of the Russian Vladimir Putin's inner circle, along with top officials and several businesses, including a state-owned weapons trading company. That was more than Obama did, by the way. Senior U.S. administration officials said that the sanctions are not aimed to punish Moscow for any particular event, I'm sure, because there's nothing that was happening, but instead a broader measure aimed at the totality of the Russian government ongoing and increasingly malign activities in the world. So again, if he was working for Russia, you're trying to tell me that Russia, Vladimir in particular, said to him, hey, look what you do, man. You do more sanctions than Obama ever did on me, and hold it there, because that's really going to prove that you're my asset. The Treasury Department, in connection with the State Department, targeted 7 Russian oligarchs and 12 companies they own or control. It also sanctioned on 17 senior government officials, along with a state-owned weapons trading company and its subsidiary, a Russian bank. The number of high-profile individuals are cited on Friday's action, including Putin's son-in-law, the chairman of state-owned natural. Now, you see how close to home this Russian spy is hitting. Gazprom, Russia's largest company, also on the list, the secretary of the Russian Security Council and the director of the National Guard troops. Addressed the statement Friday, the sanctions would hold until those individuals wielded their influence to curb the Kremlin's pervasive activities. Now, mind you, his stuff worked. Russia did not do anything in Ukraine for those 4 years. Russia did it before with sanctions, by the way, with sanctions from Obama, and then didn't do anything when they could have accomplished much more because he was a spy since 87. They didn't bother trying to take over and crash America when they had him in there. But now he's doing something that actually is looking into what the money that went during that time frame. Now all of a sudden he's working for Russia again, and he's trying to bring America down by shutting off the government. Wasn't it the government that sanctioned Russia under Obama?
Yeah.
Okay, so where did that money and all the stuff that you say you saved, where did that go?
Nobody
That's what I want to know. Where did all that go?
We know where it went.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know where it went. Based off what they've been finding so far, we know all of this, all the money that's been going to these foreign wars, these foreign interferences. We know where all that money's getting circled back to. And it's back in the pockets of these crooked politicians, the military industrial complex, and all these other people. And as Marlon stated, this is what they're terrified of. The minute they get in there and find out that, yes, the money went back to Adam Schiff, you know, these people, and it's going to be name drops. There's going to be names and who those entities are tied to. And they're terrified of that. So now
they
Russia's
really
fine.
should go. They should really investigate the Cheneys for their ties to Halliburton and what they did during the Iraq War. Like, that might be a good start too. If we're going to keep it nonpartisan. But it goes to the point of this, is that I think in my mind, what Donald Trump is doing is that he looks at it like this, is like, there's nothing in it for us to back Ukraine and get nothing in return, right? And then he's looking at Russia. Russia has a ton of business that we could get involved in because they have lots of natural resources. There's no reason we need to continue being adversarial with a nuclear power, for one, and two, pushing them further closer to China when they could be further closer to us against China in the future. It's a strategic move. If we want to have a good relations with Russia, because it's not the 1960s anymore, right? The USSR is gone. There's no reason Russia needs to be ostracized out of Europe when it has more ties to Europe than it does to the East. So you bring in Russia to the Western side, you alienate the East, especially China, from Russian help. That's the strategic move.
If you realize how much money China made off of Obama and Biden's term, you'll understand why they did what they were doing. I was just recently trying to look through something here, and I found Elizabeth Warren's post. This one will crack you up a lot. This was from yesterday. Is Donald Trump going to respond to Musk's email and report on what he did last week to help? I've gone ahead and done it for him. And this is her thread. Now, I want you to remind yourself, Elizabeth Warren is a senator.
It's not the...
Okay,
she's not the brightest bulb.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Senator, ready for this? 1, purge the military of experienced and qualified officers putting our national security at risk. How many people did Trump fire? Anybody know?
2 people, and they were involved in that James O'Keefe video saying that they were ready to cause a coup in order to stop him from doing something.
So 2. Okay, that's going to definitely put our nation at risk. Promised to protect Medicare, only to backtrack 24 hours later by endorsing the House Republican plan to cut health care to pay for tax cuts for the ultra rich. When did that pass? I don't remember having anything.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah.
Oh.
It didn't.
Fired the experts working to end bird flu that happened under Biden, by the way.
You mean the people that were stupid enough to just call entire populations of chickens without actually having any plan to deal with it?
Precisely.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Now frantically trying to find and rehire. He's not frantically trying to do anything. In fact, he kept telling people to show up for work. And if you didn't show up for work, you're gone. I think any good worker with his worth and salt would show up to work. Stop the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau from helping people who got scammed by Wall Street and giant corporations. How many people have been scammed by giant corporations on Wall Street? I mean, I know they're probably
from the government,
Elizabeth. I know you've helped them. You get money.
But no, that's another question though. Is for her is like, then who's been protecting us from the government scamming our tax dollars?
It depends. What you call a scam?
Yeah.
Put your grandma's Social Security check in danger by forcing out the acting Social Security commissioner. I want to let everybody know this. I'm on disability. I'm still getting checks.
I'm getting one too.
I mean,
why is Elizabeth Warren's grandma on Social Security?
That's what I wanted to. And she said, this isn't just inefficient. It will hurt the people Donald Trump promised to help.
Oh my God.
I hate Democrats so much because they always go directly to the emotional argument instead of the substance of the thing they're trying to say. They always try to pull at the heartstrings every single time, and it's annoying.
And we know that they're targeting their target audience, right? It's the uninformed.
Yeah.
We all know this. They play that. They play to the uninformed. So she can say things like that people with a normal brain, people that pay attention to what's going on, know that none of that is true. But the people that don't really pay attention, they get clips from TikTok or every other, fast social media platform that they watch because, most Americans have the attention span of a gnat. They go to this and they see that little portion, that clip. And then you'll hear them get right back on their social media platforms and just run with it. All of that. They'll just run with it. Donald Trump is trying to take our Social Security. Donald Trump is trying to do this. And it's all a lie. And people like her are getting out there and saying that because she's trying to, play the hero, because when Donald Trump does come after her and Kash Patel does come after her and Bondi does come after her, she could say, what? This is retaliation.
Yeah.
They know exactly what they're doing.
Here's my thing. I'll make an emotional argument for her. How about the report that came out saying that they squandered all the money we sent to Haiti? How about all those poor kids that died in Haiti when they didn't have to because they didn't get the aid they were promised, that you guys allocated to have funding, and only a 2% of that actually went to Haiti to help them? You don't care about them, do you? I mean,
No,
why'd you let somebody's grandma starve in Haiti because you weren't keeping track of the money that you allocated?
Listen, it wasn't grandma at the time. Grandma wasn't grandma yet. Okay?
No.
Get your time frames right, and that would help.
It was milk at that time.
The reason I read that thread is to show you why they have to start this widespread attack and say that Trump is this, Trump is that, because he's getting closer and closer to their breadbasket.
Yep.
If I knew that a certain individual started to go, and this was, people know my story. Back in my day, when people started to snoop around the things I was doing, that's when I started to get on not just the defensive, but I would go on the offensive to call them all kinds of names, because you know why? They were getting too close to something I didn't want them knowing.
Yep.
And so I started to villainize them because they were going to uncover the truth, and I didn't want the truth out there. This is exactly what is happening now. These people are going to be so much exposed that they cannot afford it. It's not just money. You have to remember, too, that what they're going to expose is the amount of them that have been involved with children, too.
Yep.
And not just the trafficking. You're talking about those who have been funneling their own bodies to be using children by. There are going to be a lot of heads that are going to be showing up that says, yo, you were doing that. You were do not be surprised if our tax money went to the procurement of children for exploitation. By senators, and I mean on both sides, and by Congress people. And you're going to see a lot of this money unaccounted for in the places it was supposed to be, and then they're going to find it somewhere else because of some other paper trail that they might have forgotten, and they hide it. They have to at least accommodate for it somehow, but they have to hide it. And the place they probably hid it was in the Treasury or in the military. What happens when you invade a country? Who are the most displaced? Kids.
Women. Yep. Women.
What happens to the kids? Who knows? You never hear about them no more.
That's right.
Missing.
Okay. So it happened in Haiti. It happened everywhere else. I have no doubt that this whole Epstein thing is just going to be the cap on a MAGA bottle that's going to be blowing up big time when you realize how much of the world influences have actually done this to kids. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the entire UN is filled with those.
And on that note, Marlon, with the Epstein thing, not steering off, but I think that's one of the reasons, everyone keeps saying, oh, Patel said he was going to do it day one. So you got to put yourself in Bondi and Patel and, that administration's seat. Sit down like them for a little while and you get this list and you're going down this list and you're seeing people that would probably blow the average American's mind. They're like, geez, this person. So I can see what they're doing. They're probably going through it. And I think a lot of these, when they get them, a lot of them are going to just be arrested, in the dark at night. Then once they have them, I think that's when they're going to actually publish the list. Because as Marlon stated, and we've stated on the show many times, all of this, everything, the corruption, the wars, all this stuff leads back to children and trafficking. All of it leads right back to that. start wars in foreign countries, displace children. Oh, we're coming in, USAID. Hey, we're these orphans. Take the kids. Kids disappear. They just continue on doing it until they get what they want.
It's an interesting situation we're in.
It'd be crazy.
But I will tell you this. I cannot wait for the tour of Fort Knox, and I cannot wait for the official report of the IRS and the military-industrial complex. I said it before, but I'm a little more confident now. We might end up erasing half our debt, if not more, with the amount of people that we find have been funneling money, and you might end up seeing a bunch of head rolls. But here's what the thing is: I think will be more than 5K back to us.
Yep.
I would much rather see this in lieu of jail time. Take away all the money they made while in office, pool it together, and distribute it to the American population.
And that wouldn't even be hard to do, Marlon, because all you got to do is look at, okay, you make $140,000 a year. You've been here for this many years. Okay, that would give you up to this, minus this, that, and this. This is what you should actually have.
Yeah.
And then the rest, where did this other $198 million come from? That goes right back to the people.
A lot of it's going to be insider trading is what it's going to end up being. A lot of it.
Well, they can keep trading. The more we find, the better off we'll be.
They go to Fort Knox. They find a bunch of those Willy Wonka chocolate gold bars.
I got a gold
But people need to remember, this has only been a month. He's only been in office for a month. We still have 4 years.
I'm telling you, before that 250-year anniversary of America, all this is going to be done, dude. This is why they're working so fast, because by the time that carnival, that whatever, what is it, the carnival, the fair, the American fair, the All-American Fair, all this is going to be done by the time that comes around. You'll see. So you're going to see by the time mid-March, April, before, around springtime, we're going to see a lot of people going down. You just get your bucket of popcorn and enjoy the show. I'm telling you.
It'll be great. It'll be great. I had not heard that.
Patel arrested a big name. Yeah, I heard that.
Confidential documents. I haven't heard that yet, but
I heard that one.
Another thing you need to look out for is the guy that won the German election is a BlackRock guy.
That's what I heard this morning. I recognize.
He was on the board of BlackRock for most of the time until he got back into politics.
Yeah,
after he got out of German politics. So.
There's going to be a bunch of stuff happening. In fact, the lady that saw stuffing ballots, she got arrested too. So she turned herself in finally.
Yeah. Hey, America, Germany can go sit on whatever they want to sit on. I love how we
America. I love how we fought a war to keep Germans from taking over Europe, but they ended up taking over Europe anyway.
No, not my problem. Not our problem.
I always think that's funny.
Not our problem. We got bigger fish to fry here.
I find it funny. But come Wednesday, I'm sure there'll be a whole lot more things that happen between now and then. You'll see more lefties losing it, and we're here for it. I'm going to keep laughing at them. I'm honestly I'm out of sympathy for anybody that deals in that mindset.
Do you think there's going to be any gold in Fort Knox?
No.
You think it's going to be gone?
I think it'll be so barren. They'll be like, we've been printing.
Where's all the gold
forever? It's not there. We don't have nothing in there.
I bet if anything, it'll be like a quarter of what's supposed to be there. I don't think it'll be all gone. I don't think there'll be some left, but it'll be like, where did all the gold go?
It'd be interesting.
The Great American Heist. That's what they'll call it.
Be interesting.
It'll be very interesting. I hope they do stream it. They better stream it. Elon. Man,
please open the door and it's just like one pallet of gold.
Not even one, not like one gold bar just sitting there inside a glass, and you got to put your hand in to bring it out.
There's like a puzzle you got to figure out, like turn
Indiana
the wheel,
Jones shit.
Like Indiana, you got to turn the wheel, put the feather on the thing.
Take a leap of faith, and there's no ground and all this nonsense.
One piece of gold.
That'd be great stuff.
Oh, that'd be horrible.
Wow.
Because
you're for sure that they're corrupt. Now we'd know.
But they need to stream it. So, the American people can see it with their own eyes when that vault is open. So it's no more, well, they made that up, or that's right-wing propaganda, or that's left-wing, that's whatever. Live stream the opening of the Fort Knox vault for every American to see. And when they open that thing and it's empty, then they could say they stole it. And then the American people, the smart American people, should be upset.
Yeah.
Should say something about it and let them know.
Everything you know is a lie.
That'd be amazing.
Yep.
But we'll be back Wednesday. Y'all tune in. We're gonna have a lot to cover now that Bongino's in there too. And look, this is like what 16 was supposed to be.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
This is what 16 was supposed to be. So I'm glad we're having it now, as opposed to not ever. And we predicted that he would be coming in and not caring at all about what happened next because it was his last year doing last term. He's doing exactly that. Gloves are off, and everybody catching hands. Everybody's catching. It's like a Waffle House brawl up in here.
and also with Patel being, the temporary director of the ATF, you're going to see some head spin too. I wouldn't be surprised if he just dismantled that whole.
The ATF's getting dismantled. I think that's why they made him acting.
Yep, just get the ATF out of here. It's not constitutional anyway. So see you later, ATF.
Or more than likely, what my guess is they're going to fold the ATF into the FBI and just get rid of the agency entirely. In that they're going to take all the duties of the ATF in the FBI now. Yep,
it'll be fun.
That's
absolutely fun. But we'll be back come the end of the day on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we'll see you there. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget that coming the end of this show, we will not be streaming to YouTube anymore.
Come on.
YouTube has demonetized us, and this is the third time I've put in a petition to get it back. And every time, all they tell us is we don't qualify. They never tell me why. Never tell me why. They never give me a specific reason, only that our content is not suitable for ad revenue when it was before. No strikes since they took our monetization away, but it's just not within the wheelhouse that they're looking to monetize with. So, but they're still giving us copyrights for things that we do, even though we're not monetized. I don't understand that one. But anyway, so after tonight, we will not be streaming to YouTube. It is a pointless platform for our content. I'm sure it fits a lot of other people, but because we call out both sides fairly, we have been ostracized, so we're not going to deal with their propaganda or their crap. So we're not going to stream to YouTube come Wednesday. If you show up to YouTube, there'll be no show there. We're not even going to stream partial of the time because we did say last year that was going to be a possibility. That possibility has come forward. We are not streaming to YouTube anymore. We are going straight to Rumble, sticking with X, with BitChute and Facebook. Facebook for now, but definitely we're going to go completely to Rumble as our mainstay.
Hey, Marlon, can you put the link in there one more time? And look, when you put this link in there, either download the app or save the link to your favorites in your phone. That's all you got to do. You just save it, and then anytime you turn your notifications on, it's just like YouTube. When we're going live about 30 minutes prior or a little bit after we start the show on Rumble, it'll let you know that we're live. But we're always going to go live at the same time, same day. Never going to change.
Yeah. We are just not going to deal with this anymore. If I'm going to run a platform like the way I'm doing it, the last thing I want to do is to have it not lucrative enough to keep it afloat. It has been afloat with nothing to show for it, and this is work. Okay. I know for some of people out there be like, oh, I wish you'd stay on YouTube. I get it, but it's a job. And if the job isn't working to pay what it needs to pay for, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And it is one of the worst platforms for political commentary out there, the most censored, especially the realm we dabble in, which is more of the overall conspiracy of things which turn out to be true.
Yep.
We can't talk freely on this app, and we're not going to be making money, but Rumble is becoming a little bit more lucrative for us. And we need to use that money to start funneling into Savage Patriots to get us into a next level. So I just want you all to understand this is nothing personal. If you like YouTube more, that's fine. But we just cannot, there's no feasibility in it anymore for YouTube. We'll leave the channel up probably for the rest of the year. But by the end of the year, more than likely, I'll just port all the videos that we did that aren't on Rumble, that are still on YouTube, over to Rumble so you guys can still see them. But this is a business decision that we have to make. And since we are in this as a at least for some of us, a part-time job. I ain't going to work for free for nobody. That ain't working for nothing. So, so if you guys are friends with YouTube, sorry, get familiar with Rumble. Trust me, I think you'll be happy because you can say more in the comment section anyway.
Yeah,
that's the benefit.
Rumble's coming up. It's got a lot of new stuff on there. UFC's on there, by the way.
Share.
But make sure you get it out. Okay, so just no YouTube tomorrow. I mean on Wednesday, no YouTube. So okay. If you want to though, and you are friends with me on Facebook, and you just happen to not do what Mike just said, which is bookmark it, you can inbox me, and I'll give you the link then too, so you have it for the day. But if all else fails, it'll be on my page as well. And we are working on a web page, by the way, people. It's almost ready. It's been launched, but it's not finished. So I'm working on trying to get it pieced together to look nice, and we'll be dropping videos. And if we have little clips and stuff that we want blogs, we'll drop them there. Even try and port some of the stuff happening on X over on that webpage, so you don't have to go to X every time and see the stupid feeds there. So just trying to give you more content and be efficient with it. Okay, cool. In the meantime, in between time, we'll see you guys on Wednesday. We'll catch you guys then. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. We out. Peace.